There are reports that the Basic Education Department is threatening teachers who choose not to be vaccinated. Some teachers, or should I say some teacher unions, are reporting that the department has threatened to fire anyone who chooses to exercise their constitutional right not to have the shot. Joining me now is the South African Democratic Teachers Union General Secretary Mugwena Maluleke. Mr. Maluleke, thank you very much for your time. So this story on the front page of the Star newspaper today with the headline, "No jab, no job." Is that indeed what the Department of Basic Education is threatening?
Good day, Koli, and your viewers at home. Look, I haven't read the Star. I have been very busy this morning. However, I wish to say that we are aware of the circular that the department has sent to all the employees. That particular circular basically come as a result of the publicized or gazetted directions by the Department of Employment and Labor that compels all employers to regulate the issue of vaccination and obviously inform workers about their rights and their responsibilities. So I'm not aware of the fact that the circular may have been misinterpreted or interpreted as a firing, because there is no condition in the employment law where there is a requirement for you to be jabbed or vaccinated before you can be given the job, or you can be fired as a result of you exercising your right. That it would be unconstitutional and it will not be accepted.
Mr. Maluleke, you say that this circular is talking, or at least trying to inform teachers about what you say is their rights and responsibilities. If you were to just give us what stands out for you, having seen this circular, what screams at you as potentially impeding on the rights of teachers?
Well, what's standing out in the circular, basically, I think the issue of mentioning operational requirements may be regarded as a threat to the employees. However, if you go back to 1996, 1995, you would then realize that it is an insertion, actually it's an extract from the Labor Relations Act, but also an extract from the Educators Employment Act, which is contained in terms of a schedule there where it talks about the operational requirements. So what the circular did was just to mention all the legislations that are there that basically seek to regulate the employment of the employees in a workplace. So yes, when you read it without understanding that the employer has an obligation in terms of the gazette that came from the Department of Employment and Labor, you would then begin to read in that particular section a thread that says if you are not jabbed, then you will be fired. But also it is fueled by the lack of understanding by those who have signed the circular, in particular the DG and the MEC of Gauteng. I believe that these two have really fueled this particular thing, because they could not interpret their own circular, because the circular is not rewriting the law. The circular basically is to say this is what the law is, and nobody can be fired because you have not been jabbed. However, what the circular begins to say is to say, as an employee, you have to give reasons why you have chosen not to be jabbed. That does not come directly from the Department of Education. It comes from the Gazette that was published by the Department of Employment and Labor, so that people know what is their right and their responsibilities towards making sure that when they take a decision based on information. So yeah, I can understand that the answers that were given by the DG yesterday showed that the DG has become an operational person instead of a direct, a strategic person. He's an inspector. Instead of staying in the office and run the Department of Education, he's the one who has caused this particular confusion.
Well, I mean, if he has misinterpreted the law, then that is a serious indictment. The DG will have to explain himself. Let's try and conclude, therefore, General Secretary. this whole issue, if it is indeed found that there are instances where teachers are genuinely being threatened with their jobs if they do not get vaccinated, firstly, are you or have you received any such report as a union representing teachers?
None so far. We haven't received any report of any intimidation or any threat from the department or from those who are responsible in our schools, because they know the law. They know that there's no condition that says you must be first to be vaccinated before you come to work, or you will then lose your job because you are not being vaccinated. Those things will be unconstitutional. So none so far, up to so far, we have not received. If those things can happen, what's going to happen is that, but clearly it is that the department will have got to justify the course of action that they are taking, what informs that, but they will never be able to can fire any person on the basis that the person is not vaccinated. It will not happen.
Yeah, and I suppose it goes without saying then that the union will fight it tooth and nail. Let's then go to the wage agreement, General Secretary. You are almost the lead negotiator, if you like, in the current talks between the Department of, or the Treasury, National Treasury, and the unions. You have signed on the dotted line as the South African Democratic Teachers Union, accepting this offer. I was talking to a fellow union leader whose union is represented under the COSATU fold in which you fall under. That's Nehao. They're saying they are not planning to pen this deal at all. If anything, they are actually going to challenge it legally. Did you sell out?
Thank you for that question, indeed. No. I know that there's something like that in English that is called sellout, but of course that is not the type of a union that sells out. We believe in facts, we believe in numbers, we believe in knowledge, and because we know that knowledge is power, and therefore we have signed on the dotted lines as the first union to sign, because we worked so hard to push the employer from a 0% to almost 27 billion that the department said they don't have. They have only budgeted zero in the budget. We felt that we must go back to our members and say to our members, look, you have not received any increase in 2020. Here is a possibility of a relief to your situation that you are faced with in terms of escalating costs from education, from food and everything else. We are facing a possibility of additional responsibilities as teachers, because you have got a stable job, and clearly it is that where you have a stable job, you also take responsibility for those who have lost their jobs or those who have taken a cut in their salaries. The teachers take that particular responsibility. We have seen it and we know it.
So what you are saying then, what you are saying, Mr. Maluleke, without saying it, is that your fellow affiliate, Nehao, is being short-sighted.
No, what we are saying is that it's their right not to pen it. And therefore, but it is not any right of any union to say another union has sold out, because that would then be entering into a space which will not be able to can be resolved, because each and every organization within COSATU is autonomous in terms of the constitution of COSATU, but it's also independent. We take mandate from different structures in different ways, and therefore they have a right, and we have respected that particular right. That is it's uncommon to that what has happened. It's not for the first time that the stable of COSATU would have unions that are signing and those that are not signing. We are one of that particular union that at a particular point in time we never signed an agreement when the other signed an agreement, and we have not accused anybody. So it's not uncommon that you find kind of a situation. It happens.
All right. Well, Mr. Shingange may say that I'm putting words in his mouth. Let's just have a listen to what he had to say to us a little earlier before we conclude our conversation. Let's have a listen.
The government is at liberty now to go ahead and implement an agreement that has got a majority of signatories. So we're not trying to stop them now. However, we have been indicating at the beginning of these negotiations the manner in which the government was approaching this time around. Because in our view, it's a culmination of what we have always called an attack on collective bargaining. Firstly, you remember that public servants have already lost over 5% of salary increase in 2020 when the government unilaterally decided to renege and move away from a signed agreement. These current negotiations are proceeding without taking that into consideration at all. It says if public servants must forget that they are actually being owed. It says if we must accept that at any given point the employer can just walk away and take things to court, and therefore all of us must wait for court. That is a principle that first we felt that we need to resist and reject, that all contempt deserve. Secondly, for the first time in the public service, an employer or an employment area that has always enjoyed a job security and what we call a basic salary principle is going to be plunged into a situation like we find our brothers and sisters in the other sectors of economy where they only depend on gratuities, where they don't have a basic salary. Government is introducing a system that says we will only give you a gratuity. A gratuity, as you will know, is not compulsory even if you have signed. I mean, if government can walk away from a 3-year binding agreement, what will make them honor a gratuity which is not actually found anywhere in terms of the legally? The workers every time contribute to their deferred earnings, which is a pension, and the employer also do the same thing. This time around, government has introduced a system that does not build on your pension. In other words, your pension will remain stagnant for now, for next year, for last year, and they're going to achieve that which the Minister of Finance has said. There's actually going to be a wage freeze in the public service going forward.
Mr. Maluleke, at the core of Mr. Shinganga's argument is that workers must and should always enjoy job security. Now, you have gone and signed off on this deal, knowing full well that government reneged on the last leg of the 2018 agreement. I put it to you, you did sell out.
No, we didn't sell us. What's happening is that the public knows very well, and you know very well, that Labour lost the court case in the Labour Appeal Court. We are taking the matter at appeal level at the Constitutional Court. So we haven't forgotten about that. We are fighting it, and then the 24th of August is coming. So it's important that we always are able to say to the workers, this is the truth, is that the unions that took us to the court is the Public Service and Administration. And the government went there together with all of us as respondents, not as applicants. And therefore we needed to go there and defend ourselves. And we will continue to go and argue our case at the level of the Constitutional Court. So at the core of everything here, it is that we have saved the public servants their jobs. No jobs are being lost. At the same time, we have tried and fought very hard to making sure that the public servants don't go hungry for the second year whilst we are still fighting for the 2020 increases.
How would you respond? How would you respond to someone who says, you see, this is proof that COSATU and its unions, they've gone past their sell-by date?
Well, that would be maybe misunderstanding the current situation that we're finding ourselves in. We are always taught, tools of analysis, that the tool of analysis is based on material condition obtaining. What are the material conditions obtaining now? Have we received the salary increases in 2020? No. And that must be the basis for you to say, can the workers go again for 2 years without anything in their pocket? And clearly, it is that they are not losing their years of pensions, because your pension is based on the number of years that you are working, also based on the last salary of 24 months. And therefore, we factor in what we call actuarial factor that is there. It's a defined benefit. It's not a provident fund. It's not how much you put into the pension that is going to determine how much you are going to get. It's already defined when you start working in the public service. So we understand it very clear, and then we made it very clear to the members to then say, can you go on? And we asked them, can you go on? Are you willing to go on without anything in your pocket? And they said, if we can get something that is after tax, it's able to take us forward whilst we are fighting, continue to fight, and we'll continue to fight. And we'll fight in the courts, we'll fight in the negotiations that are coming, and we'll continue to do our work. But we were not going to take our members to a slaughterhouse where they were going to lose the little that they did not get an increase last year through a no work, no pay. And we said it very clear, let others go on strike this time, and the teachers must get the benefit of the strike, because everyone else has been depending on the strike, or by the teachers for that matter. And we're very clear, we're not going to do that this time. We're going to save the teachers. We want to save their salaries, we must save their families, because they can't continue to be sacrificing for others who don't go on strike. They look at us through the windows when we march in Pretoria, passing the offices there, and therefore the teachers themselves bear the brunt of losing the little that they have. We said, we as SADTU can go on strike, but not this time.
Sure. Very interesting arguments indeed. Thank you very much for your time. Mugwena Maluleke, General Secretary of the South African Democratic Teachers Union.